Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
A mother writes to Good Housekeeping magazine. My little son keeps running around naked, so I sprayed him with Windex. It's supposed to prevent streaking. Oh. Morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot. Call in, Patriots, with the Pledge of Allegiance on a Tuesday. And a good morning to you. I'm Zeb Bell on a Tuesday, May 21st, and welcome to Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations with all the tires you need for safe driving before you head out on Memorial Day weekend. And don't forget, too, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Keith. I got to run and do the weather, but you and your lovely wife, I appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. Right now, it's time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn. Right there, you can't miss them. I mean, they're right on the Burley-Paul Highway, and they've got the best of tools and equipment for any and all your construction projects, all your gardening tools and equipment, lawn equipment, everything, rototillers, mowers. Oh, it's all there with Roger and the crew at K&R Rental. And if you have questions about what you need to finish a project, just give them a call, 678-3122, K&R Rental. And here, let's see if we're going to hear or see anything about sunshine. Gina, what's the weather?
It's going to be another soggy day, so wear your rain slicker and your galoshes. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Yes, showers all day today. We are expecting possible thunderstorms by this afternoon as well. High of 53, winds out of the west at about 10 miles an hour. Tonight, more scattered showers and thunderstorms, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 40. Tomorrow, more rain showers are going to be in the forecast, cloudy skies. Winds are going to be picking up out of the west to about 13 miles an hour, and we could have gusts at about 21 miles an hour. High of 55 by Thursday. More rain showers, thunderstorms in the forecast, expecting a high of 58, and by Friday, unfortunately, more rain and a high of 60. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb.
Oh, my goodness. When is it going to end? Please stop the rain. K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn. I know there's a lot of people that appreciate the rain, but I'm not a duck. Anyway, the number to call, Roger and the crew over there, 678-3122. K&R Rental. They open up early in the morning to serve you. K&R Rental. I want to remind you, too, that Thursday is sale day at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Number to call for cattle consignments and sale information, 678-9411. Excuse me. And, of course, Merv May, Cade Rogge, and Lance Udy serving you at the sale that works for you. The Burley Livestock Sale Yard. Sale time 10:30 this Thursday morning. Don't you miss it. 678-9411. Whoa. A little bit of a cold here this morning, a little bit of a sore throat, so bear with me. Oh, by the way, I've got to tell you the lovely Miss Vicky at Vicky's Country Gardens. She sent me a picture of what's out adorning her lawn, a mare and a colt, and it's such a neat deal. I just got to give her extra praise. Vicky, thanks for the pictures. Outstanding. Folks, drive by and take a look at that. Excuse me, on the Burley Paul Highway. Vicky's Country Garden. Don't forget to our friends at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, and they take care of all your clothes. I mean, like, they will wash and they will dry and fold and iron all your clothes, just like Mom did. And I urge you to stop in. All your dry cleaning, your jeans, if you like them pressed like I do, they do a wonderful job. And everything else, they're the best. Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Stop in and see those really nice people today. Kevin and Cindy waiting to serve you. Lunch Bunch is coming up on this Thursday. Yes, Lunch Bunch on this Thursday at 11:30. Don't miss it. And it's over at 611 North Overland in Burley at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. We have got a lot of door prizes to give away from Walmart, Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin, Denny's. These people are so nice and so helpful to have everybody enjoy themselves at Lunch Bunch. We get there at 11:30, and it's a big happy party. Bring your friends, bring your neighbors, bring your relatives, sit with them if you can. Everybody get along. 611 North Overland in Burley, and another location for Denny's Restaurant, 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. Give me a jingle if you would, and I'd love to hear from you. I've got a picture. As I said, Vicky sent me a copy of the pictures of the mare and the colt out in her front of the store, Vicky's Country Gardens. It's really nice. You know, I really appreciate that kind of a bronze. You see the colt grazing right next to Mama Mare, and so congratulations, Vicky. That looks really sharp. Sanctuary airports? What? The people up in Seattle absolutely must have turned their brains in for safekeeping someplace. Seattle, SeaTac Airport, blocked ICE agents, Immigration and Custom Enforcement agents, from going to the airport and making deportations of illegal aliens. They blocked them. They said, no. We don't want you to deport any illegal aliens from SeaTac. So you, the ICE agents, drive 3 hours away and take and deport your illegal aliens from Yakima. Now, not only is this a waste of time, this is an extreme waste of taxpayer money. And this is not the America I know. We have laws and regulations that have been in effect to handle illegal aliens and the deportation of our country, from our country. And now SeaTac Seattle is making their own rules up and saying, no, we're going to become a sanctuary airport. And if you're an ICE agent or agents and you have anyone illegal that's deporting this country, not here. You got to take them someplace else. This is complete stupidity. Caller, I'll be with you in a moment. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. And the number to call, 678-0459. I'll say it again, 678-0459. They're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. And they have all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. All you have to do is just call or stop in. Wonderful people, over 6 decades in business of serving you. Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb, again.
Yes, sir.
You know, let me get my thoughts. Okay. You had said to me one day when I was talking about a certain politician, you didn't want to ever hear his name from me again on the air, and I won't. But this mayor of South Bend, Indiana, who has a 51% dislike by the people of his town who don't like the way he's doing his job. Now, if they don't like him, and we don't like him, where the heck's he going to go?
Well, I hope he goes right back to South Bend, Indiana, and stays there. I don't want anything to do with Pete Buttigieg or whatever the pronunciation. Just a minute, whatever the pronunciation on his name is. I can't stand this man. I listened briefly for as much as I could stand to that town hall with him the other night. Let me ask you something. Have you heard him talk about foreign policy? Have you heard him talk about what he would do in the Middle East? Have you heard him talk about oil and gas prices? Have you heard him talk about how he would handle the immigration problem on the border if he were president? Have you heard him talk about what he thinks are changes necessary to Medicare or the health care system? No. Pete Buttigieg is a low-class mayor from a smaller town in Indiana. He knows nothing.
Let's go back to when we were young, and there used to be a saying, you cannot serve two masters. And that's what he's trying to do, and he's not doing a good job at either one.
Well, I think we're going to see a weeding out of the 23 or 24 Democratic nominees in a very short order. I anticipate that right before the 4th of July, we're going to see a culling of the herd, if you will, necessarily so. And honestly, you've heard me, Keith. I've put the call out for Democrats in this area to call and maybe have a nice, polite conversation about what their platform is and why they support various individuals or not. And due to the fact that the Democrats want to basically stay as far away from my program as possible, kind of like the Ministerial Association, we haven't heard from them.
Well, they would be outcast from their party if they even indicated one thing about you being right.
Well, it's not me being right. It's that I wanted to have a wholesome conversation with them and discuss their platform issues, to which I absolutely am opposed, but I'd be open-minded to let them talk about them and or some of the possible nominees for the presidency, but they won't talk. You know, they're like spoiled little children. They didn't get their way, and they're going to go sit by the closet door and just pout. And to me, it's not a very professional at all attitude.
Well, I've been listening to you for a long time, Zeb, and I can never seem to disagree with what you say.
Well, there's always going to be that day. Hey, God bless you, man. Thanks for your call. Tell good morning to Mrs. Sugar Cookie, if you would, please. I appreciate that.
Okay.
All right. Hey, don't forget Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. I can't wait to get started back there again next week. I mean, man, I tell you, I've been an aching and a paining myself, so I got to get back over there. And Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists are there waiting right now to serve you. All you got to do is make an appointment. I mean, absolutely, 678-1191, and they're located at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2, of course, with that only hydrotherapy pool of its kind in this area and all the exercises to help you get back to being you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 678-1191. You call them today. Hey, I know a good old boy, and that's Scott Gano. Scott's been doing work for us for a long, long time, and I'll tell you what, he knows all about landscaping and tree trimming, and with all the wind we've had and everything, and tree limbs busting off, and if you need your fruit trees trimmed, now's the time to get it done. Please, I urge you to call Scott Gano Landscaping and Tree Trimming, and the number, I'll give you two numbers, and please write these down, 438-2485, or his cell phone, and that number, you ready? 431-8733. I'll tell you what, they are the best at what they do. Scott Gano Landscaping and Tree Trimming Service, and with all the wind we've had and everything else, you better make sure your trees are ship-shape, and he can help you. Scott Gano Landscaping and Tree Trimming. All right, now it's your turn. Give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. You know, what more can you say about this Democratic Party? They have turned into a hateful, satanic cult. That's about the only way I could describe the Democratic Party anymore.
I can't argue with you, nor would I want to. I was talking to my aunt back in Wisconsin the other day, and we were just talking about how this party, the party of the Proxmeyers and the Hubert Humphreys of days gone by and the Kennedys, etc., what happened to those people?
I don't know. We've got people that are entrenched in power, and that's all they're looking for is to remain in power no matter how much damage they do to this country.
Yeah.
I think we've had revolutions in other countries years ago where the masses of people got so tired of being nailed down by these politicians, they pulled them out and destroyed them.
You know, blame it on, and I don't care if people are offended by this, I'm going to say it the way it is. Blame it on education across the United States in not teaching our kids all the civic values of how great this country has been, is, and will be, how great our Constitution is, and everything else good about this country. I heard a poll this morning that has been taken that, listen to this ought to scare you. 4 out of 10 people right now think that socialism would be better for this country. Even after all the devastating debacles, like Venezuela being the latest one, America must really be, in essence, dumb to even consider changing.
Well, socialism is all about control. You're going to get one group of people that's going to control millions of people, whether they like it or not. Once these guys get entrenched, they'll disarm the country. They'll be the only ones that have guns. And these people that want socialism so bad are going to find out they're living in a prison, just like the people in Venezuela.
Well, and when you hear 4 in 10 in this polling say that they would prefer socialism, A, I'm going to say this. A, they don't understand socialism. B, they don't understand the values of capitalism. And C, they probably were dropouts from high school, because this is lunacy.
Oh, people don't realize what it is to be under control. They lived in a free country to do just what the hell they want for all these years, and they figure socialism is great. They'll never have to have a job for the rest of the
Yeah. I don't know, the word free evidently must be hanging up on their mantles someplace, and I don't understand why 4 out of 10 people can't understand there's no such thing as free. Tony, I'm as worried about it as you are, because when I hear about polls that say 4 out of 10 people want socialism, that tells me that 4 out of 10 people are really doggone stupid.
Well, we are in trouble. Thank God that Donald Trump came along and saved this country.
Well, I
hope he stays healthy for another 4 years.
So do I. Tony, I always appreciate it. Thank you very much for your call this morning. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, buddy.
Bye.
Hey, Rain for Rent, Jake and the crew. I'm telling you, they are a Reinke diamond dealer. They handle the best and serve the best. You, the farmers in this area. Absolutely. With a dedicated sales and service staff, that education is the main thing for them. They want to know everything about irrigation on how to better serve you. All the hand line, solid set, ring lock, main line available for rent. They've got it all. And they are experts with the telemetry annex boxes that you can control and set up right through your telephone. Holy smokes. Don't wait. Call them right now. Rain for Rent at 438-5065. They're located at 134 South, 600 West of Paul. That number again to call Jake and the crew, 438-5065, Rain for Rent. I know some other folks that are there to serve you and your puppy dogs and kitty cats, and I'm talking about Ark Animal Hospital. Hello, Dr. Bill and everybody over there. You know, I don't care if you've got horses. By the way, it's a great time right now. Don't put it off to deworm your horses. And all the ticks and the flies are going to be really thick after we finally get through all this doggone rain. And, of course, all your puppy dogs, kitty cats, vaccinations, they take care of it all because they care. They care. At Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street, near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. The number to call, 678-1177. And it's true, at Ark Animal Hospital, they have warm hearts for cold noses. All right, calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. As you know, I guess we are having a slight battle with the clergy in this area. Caller, I'll be right there. I'm going to just stay with this for just a second. I have asked members of the clergy to call me. I've given the number out numerous times to call and get on this program and discuss a lot of societal ills, which I think absolutely is necessary for the clergy and pastors to address to the congregations from the pulpit. I will not weaken on this. Whether it is abortion issues, whether it's LGBT issues, whether it's drug issues, I don't care. But so far, crickets. I put out another plea yesterday. Not one. Not one. I urge you folks to go to church on Sunday and ask their pastor, your pastor, to call. Yeah, kind of say, well, why don't you call? Come on the program. See what they say. And if their attitude is that they're afraid to come on the program, that's one thing. Or if they don't like me, that's another. That's a great Christian value. Try to get a hold of me and come on the program. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, hi. Is that a MAGA hat on top of your lamp there?
Yeah, it is, and it's going to stay there, too. Why?
I was hoping you'd put it on that Chia Obama head I gave you.
No, I'm not going to desecrate the hat.
Oh, okay. I just thought it might look good.
No, I'll tell you what, that hat stands for... You're looking at me on the computer right now, and that hat sits over my left shoulder, and it is Make America Great Again hat, and it's going to stay right there proudly, and I appreciate your call on that.
Okay, bye.
Have a good day, sir. Thank you. Yep, it sits right behind me. For those of you that are listening and or watching both on the computer, the internet, zebbell.com, yeah, I've got a Make America Great Again cap sitting right over my left shoulder, as a matter of fact. Going to stay there, too. Hey, don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox Home Comfort Systems all teamed up and offering up to $1,700 in rebates on a new system. And, of course, don't forget, call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459 or visit Ramsey'sOnline.com. Terms and conditions apply. Find out more. See your dealer for details. Ramsey Heating and Electric. All right, your turn. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This is absolutely something to worry about here in this country because I'm afraid it's coming. And I'll take this call, and then we'll talk about what's happening at Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris this last Sunday. And Lord help us, I hope it doesn't come here. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Well, you know, people in America are so fat and lazy and sassy that they're not even sassy. They're too lazy to be sassy. They're just lazy and distracted. And we take things for granted. Karl Marx was a terribly filthy, lazy pig. And Lenin was an elitist. And they both were trying to figure out a way to get out of work and control the people. So socialism and communism has always been about elitists controlling the peasants. And all you got to do is study it a little. I'm not saying you don't know that. But last night, on Fox TV, Steve Bannon was talking about how Europe is literally getting fed up. They're being overrun by illegal Muslims, and these people are taking over their countries, and they're forcing their will on the people of France, Italy, Germany, England, and wherever else. And he says, what's happening in Europe is they're slowly but surely realizing they've got to take their countries back.
Well, let me interrupt you right there. Let me interrupt you, Randy. I did a little research on what happened over there this last Sunday at Charles de Gaulle Airport. Literally, over 500 illegal immigrants, illegal aliens from Africa, like you said, Muslims mostly, stormed the airport, and they would not let people go onto their flights. They basically shut the airport down, and they were demanding that they get their way as far as being considered for immigration documents from the country of France. They wanted free housing. They wanted freedom of movement and settlement for everybody, and then they started chanting, France does not belong to the French, everyone has a right to be here. Wow! I mean, the French have basically lost their country, and you know what they should have done? And I want to hear your remark on this. They should have got the army, or the French National Guard, excuse me, and they should have stormed the airport, and they should have taken every one of those slime balls out of the airport on their bellies.
Well, they should have taken control of the situation. See, every time they get away with a new bold move, illegals, wherever they are, and they get away with it, they think, oh, well, we can push them one more step.
Yeah.
And they just keep pushing. And we have the enablers, whether or not it's Seattle, Portland, Los Angeles, whatever. You know, it's unbelievable. My son has a band, and he plays all over the Northwest, and he went on Thursday morning, he was pulling into Portland, and he says the homeless mess, the trash, the filth, the Rose City is falling apart.
Yep.
And it's a mess.
But
one more quick positive thing. I have a friend that went up to Edmonton and spoke in front of a group, Dr. Rick Parker. You might know him.
Yes.
Teaches at CSI. He's an unbelievable man. And he told me that the provinces of Canada have all elected conservative people to run their provinces like governors. But Justin Trudeau, the filthy, lazy, spoiled child who's been, the silver spoon boy, has been giving them fits. Because these people have to run these provinces so they can have stuff to sell to America, like lumber. OSB comes from Canada, and other things, oil, and other things, and agricultural products, whatever the hell. But the point is there is some hope, I guess. But you see, if they can break America, then everybody else might lose hope, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. We can never lose this country. It's a gift of God.
That is so true. Randy, I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much for your call this morning. Thank you. Folks, just think about this. You've got over in Paris, and they're saying these illegal Islamic protesters from Africa are saying, France does not belong to the French. Everyone has a right to be here. Okay, change the words just slightly. The United States does not belong to the United States citizens. Everyone has a right to be here. They can change that so easily, and these kind of protests are going to happen here. Taking over an airport and stopping people from getting on their flights, basically shutting down airlines and the service to the general public, and this has got to stop. There has to be, and I mean this when I say this, there has to be an answer to the mob rule and the mob denigration of our society, and they have to be put down. If force is necessary, use it. You can't let these crazies take over. and go in and demand immigration documents, demand housing, demand freedom of movement, and demand that they settle wherever they want to? In a country that is not their country? They are citizens of another country? This is insanity. Caller, I'm going to ask your indulgence. Just wait a moment. I'll be right with you, I promise. I've got to get some things in. I want to remind you about Barry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts, and they've got 3 locations serving you. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Nampa location. And boy, they've got all the equipment from the heavy work all the way to taking care of your lawns with the Walker lawnmowers. I mean, everything for lifting, digging, pushing, carrying, all the Bobcats, all the sizes, the Doosan loaders, everything. Get in there today or give them a call at Barry Equipment and Rental. Locations, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Got a big sandbox out behind to teach you how to run the equipment. Or 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin. And the Napa location for Barry Equipment and Rental. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I'm going to try to define the word free. Now, I have a very, very good neighbor, excuse me, that has a large dumpster, and it never fills up. And so he allows me to dump my trash in there because we're gone about 4 months out of the year. Okay, I tried to pay him. He will not accept that. So to me, it is free, right?
Okay.
Is it really free? No, because he has to pay.
That's right.
And that's the way free works.
I don't have an argument with your analogy whatsoever. I think it's a good analogy. But, free is never free when someone has to pay for something down the line to give to somebody or provide a service to someone else. It's lunacy to think that, oh boy, it didn't cost us anything. Yes, it does.
How do we get through to our young people that these things are not free?
I don't know, but I'm going to tell you something. I am so concerned, and maybe you're not, but I am. I'm so concerned about these insane radicals that took over that airport in Paris, France, because they are encouraged to migrate by some globalist cabal that wants to pay for them to cause all this trouble. And quite frankly, a lot of people are saying and pointing their fingers at the United Nations. And the United Nations has always said they're looking to create a borderless world led by a socialist one world government. Keith, my Lord, we've got to stop this.
Yeah, when I first seen this on TV, I thought it was something happening in the United States.
And it very well could.
I'm petrified.
It very well could, because that insanity that's going on in Paris, France, and it's left unchecked. I mean it, when they should have called in the riot guards and they should have dragged those people out on their bellies or face first on the pavement. I have no time for people infringing other people's right of freedom to go on an airline or to try to check in at an airline, or they shut down the entire airport. That has got to stop, and it's going to start happening here in this country, and we'd better be ready to take care of these people and treat them as insurrectionists and drag them out.
Yeah, France has a spineless government.
Yes, they do.
And that'll happen in the United States if we let these Democrats back in.
Oh, amen. Keith, thank you for your call again. I appreciate it. Thank you. Caller number 2, stay there. I'll be right there. Again, I'm running up a little bit of a time frame here. I'm behind. Dino Septic Service. Of course, you know that they are such a great service for you to know and remember their number and call, whether you need your septic tank pumped or you need water and sewer lines installed, septic tanks and drain fields installed, backhoe services, everything. I mean, they are really, really good. And they've expanded their business to better serve more people in this area. Absolutely. Call them at 436-6526 or in Burley 678-1638. Yep. Dino Septic Service, absolutely the best at what they do, with the big truck that says smells cargo on the way. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. It's a Yummy Man with the menu for the Burley Senior Center for today. It's roast pork and I'm going to call them cream potatoes. They're different, but they'll be good. Vegetables, salad, and I'm going to have a pumpkin bar for dessert.
A yummy pumpkin bar.
And everybody is welcome. Only $5 from 1 to, or from 12 to 1. And we need your participation.
Joe, we always appreciate your call. You do a wonderful job promoting the Senior Center on Overland in Burley. Great food, nice people. Thanks, Joe. God bless you. The Yummy Man.
Thank you for taking my call.
All right, buddy. Thank you very, very much. What a nice man. I mean, I always brag on Joe because he is so community-oriented. Thank you very much. What do you think about this? I mean, you check into an airport, and you're just going along doing like you're supposed to do. You know, you're just enjoying your life and not trying to impede anybody else. And then all of a sudden a bunch of thugs, punks, and worthless people come in like what happened over in Paris, France, and they shut it down. The mob shuts it down. And they are demanding immediate legal status to stay in France. They're demanding that the laws be broken in their favor, and they're demanding that they get immediate legal status. They're demanding documents that show that. They're demanding housing. They're demanding freedom of movement and settlement for all. And that is going to happen here. We've got illegal aliens, and I do not ever want to change that terminology. I will not be forced into political correctness. Coming here and making demands? You watch. You watch. It's not going to be long. And it might be at Seattle's SeaTac Airport. It might be at Chicago's O'Hare. It might be at JFK. It might be at any major airport. This is going to happen here in the United States. What are we going to do about it? Well, you've got to get tough. This whole country has got to get tough. And for the mamby-pambies out there, oh, well, we can't have violence. There are times necessary to hit the punks in the nose and let them understand. You cannot create and adhere to a lawless society. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This is unreal. People suffered. Their businesses suffered. Families suffered. Little children suffered because of these mob punks taking over an airport demanding that they receive citizenship in France and housing and everything else. This is nuts. Time for the weather quickly, and it's brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And they're right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room, and they absolutely can help you with your hearing health. They have 3 doctors of audiology with over, I think, close to, 30 years of combined service to hearing and hearing problems. I urge you to give them a call today at 312-0957. I'll repeat that number. 312-0957 for a hearing screening today. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Caller, I'll be right with you. Don't go away. But right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It's going to be another soggy day, so wear your rain slicker and your galoshes. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Yes, showers all day today. We are expecting possible thunderstorms by this afternoon as well. High of 53, winds out of the west at about 10 miles an hour. Tonight, more scattered showers and thunderstorms, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 40. Tomorrow, more rain showers are going to be in the forecast, cloudy skies. Winds are going to be picking up out of the west to about 13 miles an hour, and we could have gusts at about 21 miles an hour. High of 55 by Thursday. More rain showers, thunderstorms in the forecast, expecting a high of 58, and by Friday, unfortunately, more rain and a high of 60. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zephyr.
Oh, my goodness. Everybody break out the rubber duckies. That's the weather. Brought to you this hour by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And, boy, I'll tell you what, I urge you, if you're noticing any loss of hearing, please get a hold of them today. They can, and they will help you at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Number again, 312-0957. Caller, thank you for your patience. Good morning.
Well, Zeb, I totally agree. We're being overrun in this country. We have an invasion, and these people are demanding, and of course the Democrats want them in here so they can get them on welfare and vote, and there's a lot of well-meaning but misguided people that think bringing these people in is the benevolent thing to do, but in the process they're not assimilating. In fact, they're told not to assimilate. And of course, the Islam religion, if you want to call it that, it's a theocracy hiding behind a religious facade. They're commanded to be good neighbors until they get to be a majority or a small majority, and then they start demanding their Sharia law and all the rest. And we've got to put a stop to this and have our elected officials uphold the Constitution. Again, Article 4, Section 4 says to protect us against invasion. It doesn't say a standing army, but it becomes a standing army when we allow this kind of nonsense to take place time and time again.
Well, it's a crime against humanity, and it's a crime against civilized humanity. It's a crime against people that are trying to earn a living, support their families, and be good citizens. When you've got a bunch of punk mobs like these 500 or so protesters over at de Gaulle Airport in Paris, and they basically are saying that France does not truly belong to the French, China doesn't belong to the Chinese, and certainly America does not belong to Americans, we got a problem, Adrian, and it's got to be stopped now.
Well, and that's it. No, our politicians are like jellyfish. They have no spine. There's just a few. You see Trump out there, but where do you see the Republican leadership basically falling in line and saying, yeah, we need to do that?
Yeah.
They're just not to be found. It's just, Paul Ryan and the rest of them, they've been fighting the Trump agenda from day one. And it's really sad that we have not demanded from our elected officials at all levels, not just the federal level, that we take a stand against and uphold the Constitution, that, they just take a lip service to it time and time again. And, we're being invaded. One thing I just found out, that the Chinese now control 100% of the rare earth metals that are necessary for our electronics and so forth. And the last of those was allowed to be sold to the Chinese in Nevada.
Yeah.
It just happened. Now, that should have been stopped, and it still could be. But this is the kind of nonsense that's going on. We're allowing the enemy to basically eat us alive, and they're developing, Chinese and Russians are developing nuclear power, and we're sitting on our hands with useless windmills and solar.
Yeah, I appreciate your remarks. You're spot on. This has got to stop, and I just wonder if anybody's going to show the backbone to do it. Adrian, I got to run and do a commercial, but I thank you so much.
You bet. Have a great
All right,
weekend.
sir. God bless. Once again, I want to remind everybody about Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox with their home comfort systems. Don't forget, find out more about home comfort systems at Ramsey Heating and Electric, and along with Lennox, offering up to $1,700 in rebates on a new system. All you got to do is call them and find out more information today. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459. Terms and conditions apply. See the dealer for detail. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Let me ask you a question. Seriously. Let's say that you're sitting in Oklahoma City, and you've got a flight back to Salt Lake City and a connecting flight back here to the Magic Valley, Twin Falls area, Burley. And you're sitting in Oklahoma City, and all of a sudden these punks, these worthless mobs of illegal aliens come into the airport and they say, well, we're taking over because this is our country. We're going to demand that you give us housing. We're going to stop all the flights. Okay? Like what happened over in de Gaulle Airport in Paris. And all the demands that they're making, well, we want to have immediate immigration documents. We want to have housing. You're going to pay for it. Freedom of movement. And find us a place to live, all this. And they shut down the airport in Oklahoma City. You can't make your flight. It's at that juncture that every man worth his salt as a man in that airport turns around, looks at each other, and says, we're going to put these bums out on their ear. Yeah, I'm resorting to violence here. But it's worthy and necessary in this case. These people cannot do this. They cannot take over all the different locations of the world and make demands that you and I have to pay for. It's got to stop. And as I said, it is going to happen here in this country as sure as I'm sitting behind this microphone. And we'd better nip it in the bud now. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, I've said this before. This country is going to be divided into many different countries. And these politicians that are going to sitting back and letting all this crap happen to the United States, when these foreigners take over, there's going to be a revolution in this country, and the first ones that go to the guillotines are these do-nothing politicians.
Well, I hope it doesn't go that far, but I will say this. It's got to stop with some kind of force. You can't allow people to take things over and hurt other people without having a showing of force to stop that evil. And what happened in Paris should have never happened because it's a trendsetter. Now they know they can go in and they can stop things. Now they know they can go in and stop airlines. Now they know they can make demands to like Air France and tell them that they're going to do this and they're going to do that. Once you let the mob rule mentality take over, Tony, you know better than anybody because you're a little older than I am. Once you let mob rule mentality take over, they're not going to relinquish it.
Well, these politicians that are allowing all this to happen don't realize, evidently, that they're going to become victims just the same as the general population is.
Well, you know, you look at our so-called Congress and Senate, and I'm down on all of them. I have no use for them. What's their approval rating right now? Just barely over 10%. They have no guts. They have no nerve. They have no ability to combine and do something good for America. I think they ought to throw the whole doggone bunch in the Pacific Ocean as far as I'm concerned.
Well, the trouble is, many of them are in the same boat. You know, one lies and the other swears to it, so
yeah.
It's the situation we got.
Well, the reason I said the Pacific instead of the Atlantic, the Pacific's a little colder. Anyhow.
Got more sharks.
Yeah, that's right. Except for that big white shark that's off the coast of New York. Estimates are saying that white shark is between 12 and 15 feet long. That's a big dude. Look out.
I've seen a lot of them when I was stationed in Florida.
I don't want to see any of them. Tony, thank you so much for your call. God bless you, man. Thanks.
Okay, bye.
Hey, don't forget our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best of tires. I know we're just days away from Memorial Day weekend. You've got everything packed. All the suitcases are in the car to go see Aunt Martha and Uncle Fred. Oh, my. Well, make sure you've got the best of tires. And your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers have the best of tires for your car, pickup, SUV, horse trailer, boat trailer, whatever. Oh, all the tread designs, all the sizes. They've got, and on sale right now, the passenger car tire for your car, the Ultra Z900, all-season traction, and up to a 80,000-mile warranty. Woo! You better check out all the tires you need for safe driving at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, along with the best of brake service, front-end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries. All of this with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and the new man, Trent on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Wow, that first hour went fast. Holy moly, I urge you to have a good day. Stay dry. I want to go outside and do things so bad. But it looks like it's going to be negatory for the next couple of days with the weather forecast. My goodness. Next hour, we've got Phil Kirpin coming on the air, an old friend that used to be on this program years and years ago. And then at 9:30, we've got Colby Bledsoe, and then at 10:06, Dr. History, 10:30, Dr. Gerard Lamero. We've got a full plate coming up. Caller, I am flat out of time. It's a little too late to call. I've got to run to the news right now from CBS. Call. If I get a break next hour, I'd love to talk to you. Thank you much. Well, here we go on another rainy day, Tuesday, May 21st. Hour number 2, Zev at the Ranch, and of course, we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best in tires. Get ready for safe driving this Memorial Day weekend. Stop in and see them today. And don't forget, too, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's take this good word for Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
I'll tell you what, they love talking trash at Western Waste Services. They're always at your disposal, getting rid of the trash, your trash. All you have to do is call them today, get on the route service, and it's gone. Wave goodbye. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call this number, 734-6969. Once again, 734-6969, Western Waste Services. Don't forget, to our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric Analytics with their home comfort systems, all teamed up, and they're offering up to $1,700 in rebates on a new home comfort system. All you gotta do is call Ramsey Heating and Electric today and find out more. 678-0459. Don't forget, terms and conditions apply. See the dealer for details at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Real quick, too, before we go to our guest, I want to remind everybody about our friends, and they are your friends, at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, with Joel Heward and his family and his staff, serving you and your family in a time of need. When there's a passing of a loved one, they always serve the families with the best possible support and comfort, and again, with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. Please write the number down and call 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert, and Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. It has been a long, long time since I've had this gentleman on my program. I think it's been almost like maybe 10 years, and we got to get an update to see what he's been doing. And he's the president of American Commitment. He's going to explain that to us. Phil Kirpin, how are you?
I'm doing great. It hasn't been that long, has it?
I'm old, man. You tell me.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Phil, what are you doing? What's American Commitment? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, absolutely. We're a national free market advocacy group. We work really on all of the fiscal, economic, and regulatory issues federal level. And what we do that's different from a lot of the other groups is we're not doing 20, 30-page research papers or really any original research. We try to get you the facts and the information that's already out there on the things that are on the margin, where you can make a difference. Where it might go either way in terms of the outcome, in a form you can easily understand. So it's a lot of 600-word columns, 200-word action alert email, stuff like that. And we try to make it really easy for people to be more active, engaged citizens. So we've got lots of letter writing opportunities where we've got form letters pre-written for Congress or the White House or agencies or whatever it is.
You can edit them, and we always deliver them. And we're trying to get people basically the facts and the information to tilt some of these policy fights in a more free market direction. So that's the mission. Everything is on our website at AmericanCommitment.org.
We've got a little background noise and a kind of a mellowing of the system.
For that, I'm just leaving Capitol Hill right now. So when I get to the car, it should get quiet, which is going to happen here momentarily.
All right. Well, Phil, tell us a little bit about, there's a lot of people in this country, and they need maybe to rely upon some loans to get them through, basically for a short period, maybe a quarter of the year or whatever. And the Obama administration didn't like those small dollar loans. What are you connected with American Commitment to help fight for the small people that really need that money?
Well, there are a couple of aspects of this. One is sort of the regulatory front, and the Obama administration put a rule out. Actually, it's interesting. It happened in 2017. So Trump was the president at the time, but Obama's appointee was still in charge at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, Richard Cordray. And he issued this rule that said mandatory underwriting for all small dollar lending. So if you were getting a payday loan or a vehicle title loan or something like that, and you're borrowing $100 for a week to get you to the next payday because you had some kind of a financial emergency. Under this rule that the Obama administration wanted, you would have to go through an underwriting process like applying for a mortgage. You would have to document all of your assets, all of your liabilities, your income, everything, put it in a file. It goes to an underwriter. They review it. They decide whether you could pay it back or not. By the time that process is done, though, you're probably too late to get out of the emergency you were in the first place. If, say, you need money to get a car repaired to get to work the next day. And so this rule was sort of designed to destroy small dollar lending in the private sector, which is not a very profitable business as it is. There were 5 major, they call them consumer community financial centers, sort of non-bank financial centers. There were 5 major national chains a few years ago. There are now only 2 left. One of them has about a 2% profit margin. And so they barely make money as it is because it's a pretty high-risk business to be in. You're lending to people who walk out the door. The money might not come back. You've got to charge enough to cover your default risk, regardless of if the loan is for a week or for a year. You've got to charge enough to cover your default risk. And so if they put these additional regulatory burdens on, most of these places would close. Now, that means taking about $20 billion of last resort consumer credit out of the economy. People who are in desperate situations and have nowhere else to turn. If you do that, they only have worse options. They're either going to let important bills go unpaid or try to pass a bad check or create an overdraft or, or go to a criminal lender. And so I think this is a very ill-considered rule. It's being rescinded. Probably. There was a public comment period that ended just a couple of days ago on this, and the new CFPB director is looking at reconsidering this rule, which we think is a big positive. But at the same time, we've now got a legislative front in this whole issue area because Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders have introduced a bill that caps all consumer lending at a 15% annualized percentage rate. Well, an annualized percentage rate is a totally inappropriate way to think about the pricing for a 1 or 2 week loan. Because a lot of the price, the fee that's associated with that, is based on that default risk, and that default risk isn't proportional to the duration of the loan. It's not like the chance that somebody's not going to repay is dramatically lower for a 1 or 2 week loan versus a 1 year loan. Still, that risk is greatest the moment that money walks out the door, and so that's a really inappropriate way to conceptualize the cost of short-term lending. And when you put an annualized percentage rate cap on loans that are not annual but very short term, you essentially ban them, you prohibit them, and their bill would have that effect, and also would because they set a 15% annualized cap, it would also prevent a lot of people from being able to get credit cards based on their risk profile. And they say, no problem. We're going to, once we ban this in the private sector, whether it's through regulation or through this new legislation they proposed, that people like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders and AOC say, hey, no problem. We're going to ban lots of consumer lending in the private sector and shut it down, and we'll replace it with the post office. And that's why taxpayers should be very alarmed about all of these proposals, even if they're never someone who's likely to use one of these loans, because the liberal playbook here is to ban consumer lending in the private sector, replace it with postal banking, loans from the United States Postal Service at below market rates that don't cover default risks, and of course then at some point taxpayers will be forced to bail out those losses, and there's also the knock-on political risk that within an election cycle or two, they'll probably be calling for those loans to be forgiven the same way they are for student loans right now, and so taxpayers, of course, would pay for the discharge of those loans in that scenario, and so we're trying to keep consumer lending in the private sector. I think you can have an appropriate level of regulation. It's already a very heavily regulated industry at the state and federal level. But we shouldn't strangle it completely out of existence as Obama wanted to, or legislate it out of existence as AOC and Bernie Sanders are proposing, because it will leave people with no better option, with only much worse options. And from a taxpayer standpoint, if the left gets the next shoe they want to drop, which is lending from the United States Postal Service, I foresee billions of dollars of exposure for taxpayers.
You know, Phil, this thing is just so intriguing to me because I had no idea that the problem was that large or could even become larger. I mean, I know a lot of people that have had their backs up against the wall over years and they've gone, oh my goodness, I've got to get this bill paid. They're going to turn off the heat. They're going to shut off all my utilities. Maybe I can borrow for 2 weeks until I get my next paycheck and then I can cover all this. Why does the Democratic Party and the names that you mentioned, Obama, etc., on down, why are they so hell-bent on hurting people that need help in a short term?
Well, they take the view, which I think is not very well supported by the actual evidence that we have, but they take the view that people who use these products do it not because they have no better option and nowhere else to turn, but because they don't understand what they're getting themselves into, and they're being tricked and they're being fooled, and if we got rid of these places, then they would somehow get better terms somewhere else, and it's for their own good. And I think that view has actually been disproven by the research that's been done on the people who typically use these services, but I think it persists nonetheless among sort of the liberal activists and the Democratic politicians who think, we've got to ban small dollar consumer lending for the good of the people who are using these services, but don't know what they're getting themselves into. I think that's the mentality.
Phil, what about the people on the other side of the coin that are offering this service to the public? What about the jobs lost, the business opportunities lost? Isn't that going to be a big negative if they go ahead and curtail those small loans?
Oh, it could be enormous. Look, I mean, these are pretty high jobs businesses as it goes, because they're in storefronts, they're in communities, they got the front of the house, they got the tellers, they got the management staff, they've got considerable investment and presence in communities, and there would be a major negative employment effect if either the regulations are not rescinded, or if even more aggressive legislation is pursued by Democrats. And so, that definitely is a significant effect here.
The thing that bothers me, too, is it's going to push people into corners maybe they don't want to be in, and it could turn to a lot of illegality and the crime rate, etc. Am I wrong in thinking that it could go that far?
Well, look, desperate people do desperate things, and if you remove the last resort source of funds that people have, and they're in a desperate emergency type situation, I'm not saying a lot of them will, but some percentage of them will perhaps out of desperation turn to criminal activities, whether that be going to a criminal loan shark and borrowing the money and risking getting their own legs broken, or going and stealing something, or committing some other type of crime. I think that without question, if you take away people's last resort legal source of funds in an emergency situation, you're going to get more illegality, and that's one of the tragic consequences here. Because look, one of two things is going to happen if the Democrats get their way and shut down legal small dollar private sector lending. Either it's replaced with nothing, and we've got a lot of desperate people who lose their last resort, and they face very bad bleak options, or they replace it with government, probably through the post office, which is what they've suggested they would like to do. But then taxpayers ultimately end up paying. And so, look, whether you like this industry or hate it, regulating it out of existence is only going to leave everyone worse off, in my judgment.
And it sounds to me, through what you've said so far this morning, that with the post office involved, it sounds like a really good bailout system to get the negatively run post office possibly into the black.
Well, that's what they say. They say, look, financial service, banking services will be a profit center for the post office, and it'll solve their financial woes. I think that's extraordinarily unlikely for a few reasons. First of all, I don't think that they've got the expertise or the sophistication to successfully run a small dollar lending business. When so many of them have been going out of business in the private sector, it's a very tough business to be in the best of times. With the best, most competent people, it's difficult. So I think it would be challenging for them just on that basis. But second, look, they're going to be dealing with the political pressure that says you can't charge a market rate. You can't charge a rate that covers the risk involved in making small dollar loans, because the private sector will have just been regulated out of business, and so they're going to be forced to charge below market rates, at which they're almost certain to lose large amounts of money. Not to mention, as I said, Zeb, I give it 1 or 2 election cycles before the Democrats start campaigning the same as they are on student loans, with just saying, hey, let's forgive all of the consumer loans at the post office, which is another word for having taxpayers pay them. And so I think that it is extraordinarily naive to imagine that financial services, including lending, will be some sort of savior for the finances of the U.S. Postal Service. I consider it far, far more likely that the opposite would occur, and they would rack up billions of dollars in banking losses if they enter that business.
Phil, what would you have my audience do today or be most aware of? I mean, is there an action that they need to take and let people know, their congressmen, their senators, etc.? What do you want my audience to do?
Well, the deadline for the official legal public comment period ended on May 15th, so we're a little too late to get official comments in with the CFPB. That had been the action we were calling for, but the deadline on that one passed. But I would say what you just suggested would be a very good action, to contact your senators or your congressmen and say, look, this bill that's been introduced by Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to destroy small dollar lending in the private sector and shift it to the post office is a disaster, and we need to blow this thing up on the launch pad before it gets a lot of momentum, like the federal takeover of student loans did.
Absolutely. Phil, it's good to hear your voice on the program again. I wish you the very best. President of American Commitment, Phil Kerpen. Come back soon, my friend. God bless you. Thank you so much.
All right, have a good one.
Thank you. Boy, I'll tell you what, the Democrats, it looks like, want to take away any options for anyone in this country. When you back somebody into a corner and you say, well, you can't do that in a free society because we don't want you to do that, you're going to create more problems and you're going to have more animosity, and pretty soon you've got nothing more than complete revolution on the people's minds. Having the ability to go for the small dollar loans, it's not my business, it's not your business, it's not anyone's business. If someone needs to arrange for a small dollar loan to perhaps avoid an eviction, not paying their rent, or their utilities shut off, that should be their right to go do what they want to do to try to enable their situation. And the Democrats in government, by trying to take this away, I don't think they have that right. Caller, quickly, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Well, they don't have the right ever. But when we don't stand up and fight back, they will take it if we let them. And it's always been the same thing. You know, tyranny is when the government when the people are afraid of the government. And we don't want that, of course. But let's face it, there's a lot of fear in the land with good, honest, hardworking people. And so, they'll take it if we let them. And so it's just not a good thing. You like you say, we've got to somehow wake the troops up. And let's say, listen, you cannot let your country go. But they don't care. And you see, again, I say it again, what crisis will it take before young people realize that the very thing that gives them everything that they have will be lost if they don't fight back and learn?
Randy, I sit here and we talk about this every day, and I'm not an advocate, and Wheels, we got a little feedback here. I'm not an advocate of the small loans because I think sometimes it can get you in a lot of trouble, more trouble perhaps than financially you can absorb. But we do not have the right, government does not have the right, to tell someone that is destitute and really looking for answers on a short-term fix. We do not have the right to say or alienate them from that potential fix to save their rent or to pay their utilities. How dare the government? How dare people like Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? How dare they inflict government rules? Government tells you everything and you will abide by the government's rulings. This is absolute insanity to me.
Well, this is the thing. All day long I listen to ad council ads from the government, and they're all about you depending on the government. You're afraid, you know, you're petrified, and you can't do anything, and you've got to get a hold of the government. We'll help you. You know, you can't do anything without the government. And I hate them. I hate the death of them. But the government requires that they are run. They have no choice. The radio stations have no choice but to run these ads. But it's all about dependence, and you become mentally dependent on, you know, on them. It's just like, you know, you have to have crutches, and there is no doubt about it. But I know that for a fact that if you didn't have to have them, you would have never started using them things.
That's right.
And it's a terrible shame. But you know how people start depending on whatever it is, and then it just changes their lives.
I totally agree with you, and I got to run to a commercial break, but thank you for adding your insight on this. I appreciate it, Randy. Thank you very much. Calls will be welcome in a minute, and then we're going to go to our next guest, and we'll tell you more about him in just a moment. I want to remind you again about Scott Gano Landscaping and Tree Trimming. Oh, yeah, perfect time right now. Get a hold of them. The number 431-8733, that's Scott's cell. And, of course, the office headquarters, 336 South, 450 West of Hayburn. And like we've been telling you, with all the wind that's been going through here and all the tree limbs that have been coming off and everything, now's a perfect time to call Scott Gano Landscaping and Tree Trimming to make sure that you've got everything trimmed up and looking good. A great time to get your fruit trees trimmed. Call them today. Don't put it off. Numbers, I'll give you two. 438-2485 or 431-8733. Scott Gano Landscaping and Tree Trimming. You get a hold of them today. By the way, drive by Miss Vicky at Vicky's Country Gardens on the Burley Paul Highway. I received a picture from her, and she's got a wonderful statue of a Marina colt out in her front yard at Vicky's Country Garden, and it really, really looks nice. And she's going to be, of course, on our program every Monday at 10:30 for Green Thumbs, Dirty Knees, and Vicky's Country Garden. Thank you very much. I want to remind you what's going on over at our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Hold on to your hats and save money. Woo, boy, I'll tell you what, they are having a great big Memorial Day sale going on at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More, and you can save up to 40% on all the furniture. I'm telling you, on all the furniture. Wow. All the sofa love seats. And, of course, don't forget all the sofas and the recliners. And they've got absolute low prices on summer flooring specials. You better not miss this great, great low carpet buys. Up to 48 months, same as cash on approved credit on the big Memorial Day sale going on at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley. You stop in and see Jeff and the crew today at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. I believe he's going to be on the radio with us on Thursday, I believe. Oh, by the way, while I've got just a moment before we go to our next guest, I want to remind you, too, with all this water, you better get one of the watercraft over at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They've got all the four-wheelers. They've got all the side-by-sides. They've got all the watercrafts. My, oh, my, and all the accessories, and a phenomenal phenomenal service department to keep you running. Mm-hmm. All you've got to do is just stop over and see them at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 4. It is so true. Let's ride where the fun is sold. You stop over and see them today. All right, let's go to the phone line right now, and I do not believe that I have had this man on my program before, and I'm looking forward to our conversation, and he is the director of Grassroots for Freedom Works. Let's get him on the air. Colby Bledsoe, how are you, sir?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Colby, it's really a treat to have you on the program talking about a issue that, quite frankly, it makes me mad every day I talk about it, 24/7, 365, and that's the Democrats, and they're espousing Medicare for all, and it's going to be the worst thing that ever happened to American health care, but I wonder sometimes if Americans are really up and smart enough to realize the pitfalls. What are your thoughts?
Well, I hope you're not tired of hearing about it yet, because I think that's all we're going to hear about through the 2020 election. So, the left keeps talking about this. It's Bernie Sanders, it's AOC, it's Elizabeth Warren. It really is all of them who are pushing our country, pushing our healthcare system, towards socialism. My concern, really, and what we've been working on at Freedom Works, is kind of taking a step back, and I'm worried about the Democrats who are pushing for this, but I'm more concerned about the number of Republicans who are very slowly starting to inch towards these policies as well. That's what's more concerning to me, is that their willpower is being eroded away, and to the point where now we see Senator Rick Scott from Florida and Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri. They've introduced a piece of legislation that's almost identical to a bill that Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren have been pushing to set price controls on prescription drugs.
Okay, but
price controls there. It sounds good. They say it's going to lower the price of drugs here in America, but it's simply not. What it is socialism in disguise. It links our drug prices to those of countries like Japan, Canada, the UK, and several European countries that all have one-payer healthcare systems, these socialized healthcare systems in some form or another. And what it's going to do is reduce investment, reduce access, and it's going to hurt America.
Well, Colby, do you sit down with these people? And Wheels over at the station, my engineer, you're going to have to regulate the sound volume on our guest and also the feedback, which we have right now. Do you sit down with these people like Rick Scott and others and look them in the eye and say, what in the world is the matter with you transitioning your thinking into single-payer Medicare, one-size-fits-all? What's the matter with you people?
No, that's exactly what we're doing, and we have about 200 of our grassroots activists from all over the country in D.C. this week doing Hill visits. So they're going into these offices and they're having that exact conversation. They're saying, we elected you because you said you would fight the left, you would fight socialism, you would fight this push from the Democratic are trying to implement it. I think you like to think that all politicians, whether they're right or wrong, or at least they at least have a good intentions. And unfortunately, here, I think they have good intentions, but I just don't think that they're connecting the dots. And they think that if we give a little bit of ground, we won't have to see the whole battlefield on socialized medicine, and that's simply not the case. This is just the first step. I think we've seen it before. Government's not the solution. Yes, drug prices are skyrocketing. Yes, they're. We need to find a solution, but government intervention isn't the answer. It's actually having less regulation, less government involvement, so that we can have more generics on the market, so that we can have more options that way. Again, not trying to fight socialized systems in other countries by socializing our system.
I would tell you this much: don't ever ever hire me to work for you and send me into a senator's office, because I would look at that man and I would say, listen, you idiot, the way to get the healthcare costs down and prescription drugs down is through the stimulation of competition. It's not a one-size-fits-all government controlled. Why can't they understand this?
That's what they need to hear, though. That's exactly what they need to hear. And it does. It seems so obvious. The reason that the greatest innovations in other industries have come from Silicon Valley over the past decade. That's it's disrupting all sorts of other industries, but government regulation, for the most part, keeps it out of healthcare. The places where it has been able to come through, it's drastically reduced prices. I think there's systems now that allow you to take your blood pressure and do everything else from the comfort of your own home, and it sends it to your doctor's office. That way you're not driving in. Things like that are how we make healthcare more accessible and make it more affordable, not government regulation and the government setting prices.
I'll tell you one thing that scares me more today than anything connected with healthcare, Colby. And you and I have never met, and probably you don't want to meet me because I'm an old Western hothead, but when the state of California and Kamala Harris and others on the Democratic side of the ticket say, oh, we're going to provide health care for illegal aliens, everybody should have it, I'm sitting here as a taxpayer and I'm so mad that I'm clawing the paint off the wall.
You should be. No, you absolutely should be. That's the problem. Medicaid for all, health care, for illegal immigrants. The problem is we right now are failing to provide service to people who genuinely need it. The people who those programs were originally help are being pushed out of the way so that everyone can have free. People who don't need, people who should be for health care, are now competing with those who cannot. And that's I think that's the message that we have to drive, is that we're not, you and I, we're not evil people. We want people who can't genuinely need help. We want them to have help. People who genuinely cannot pay for health care and need certain coverage, and yes, we want to help those people. The way to do that, though, isn't by giving free health care to everyone.
That's right.
The way to do that is actually to push people who can work and can provide health care for themselves and go pay for it, is to encourage them to do it and to help find ways to lower the cost, again, through innovation and through a light touch regulatory approach, not through all the red tape now that means that every doctor's office has to have 3 or 4 front desk and backroom staff for every doctor they have, just so they can handle the insurance form.
Colby, I know you're on a cell phone, I believe, and I'm going to ask you to hold it really, really still. Sometimes the gremlins in cell phones create a not very good reception. I'm going to say this, and I want you to arbitrate with me or agree with me, but the way we are going in this country, with the idiocy of a Medicare one-size-fits-all, everybody is treated the same, which means many people won't get treated at all. We are enhancing a hemlock society to where I see in less than 10 years, if we adopt this frivolous stupidity, we're going to see a lot of people that are going in for a broken hip. They're going to be refused. A lot of people that need cancer treatment, they're going to be refused. And that's why I use the term hemlock society. This is stupidity that absolutely has got to stop.
Yeah, no, that is the harsh reality that other developed countries who have adopted these policies are living in right now. That is what is happening in Canada. It's what's happening in the UK. It's what's happening in several European countries and in Japan and all over the world. They are seeing restricted access to services. They're seeing these death panels. They're seeing these situations where if it's going to cost more than X dollars a year for someone to stay alive, then they don't get that treatment. This is a harsh reality. And you think how far we've come as a society over the past 100 years, and to think that though is still there's still this barrier and these decisions being made, it's absolutely ridiculous. And that's why people still come to America from all over the world for treatments and for services, because we have greater access. Right now, if you're diagnosed with cancer, there's not a better place to be than the United States of America, because you have access to over 95% of new treatments that are being tested out and tried out so that you can stay alive. 95% access. In a country like England, you have access to only about 70% of those treatments. So there are 30% of the treatments out there that could save your life you don't even have access to. And in a country like Japan, we think of as very advanced and a modern economy. They have access to close to 40% of modern, current, state-of-the-art cancer treatments. That's not what we want here in America, and that's why we need to avoid at all costs these socialist policies.
Well, I'll tell you some area of medicine, and you've kind of touched on it lightly, but I want you to elaborate a little bit more. Honestly, I'll stand behind this. I was criticized a couple of weeks ago on my program when I said this, and I'm not going to change my thinking, that with a Medicare one-size-fits-all, completely socialist control by the government of our health care, it's going to stymie, stop, and eliminate a lot of the money for research of various diseases, and the public's going to suffer in that regard also.
You're exactly right. No, that's and these companies have come out and said it. They have said that with price controls or with a single payer system, it's going to force us to cut back on research and development. Our current system, we may have to pause for 4 to 5 years while we restructure and we reassess how we do things. Take a 4 or 5 year pause. Even if you told me that everything was going to come after, I don't want to set us back research and development for cure. I mean, it really is crazy, and we've seen it happen in other countries. We know that 2 or 3 years longer for drugs to get to market in those countries. Drugs that have been proven to be safe and effective, it takes longer to get to the public, and even then they have restricted access. So that's you're absolutely right to say that should be a very big fear on everyone's mind when they hear about these policies.
Okay, now again, Colby, I'm going to ask you if you can really speak up a little bit more into that microphone. We're having some severe problems with it cutting out. What would you tell my public audience to do? I mean, I absolutely think this is one of the most critical situations that we face today, and that's healthcare or the lack of it or the government control of it. What would you tell my audience to do and not be nice about it, demand it? What would you tell them to do?
Yeah, I think the number one thing to do is to call, email, visit your representative. I mean, you have to let these people know that you are watching, that you are keeping track, and that's not just the Democrats. It's almost more important now that it's the Republican senators, the Republican members in the House, and even the White House. Trump is on board with stopping socialism, but we have to make sure that he knows that there are Republican senators and there are people even in his administration who maybe want to try out some of these policies, and they want to take a light touch approach, and that's not okay. We need to stop stop this in its tracks now. No socialism now, no socialism ever. Whether it's in the healthcare industry or any others. I think pointing to what's happening right now with the college loan bubble, I think is a good message to try to drive to these members. We don't want to see that happen, and we just have to keep hounding them. That's the one thing that every member of Congress, a representative or a senator, is concerned about is reelection. And so we have to let them know that the constituents, the voters, they are watching every single vote, and they're going to know if they try to pass socialism at any degree.
I'm going to tell you this much. If you want somebody to be your quote-unquote hitman, the way I am on this Medicare one-size-fits-all, and you want me to address Rick Scott, give me his number and I'll call him. I'm not embarrassed at all to tell him that this is complete idiocy and will be the ruination of the best health care ever provided on the face of the earth here in the United States of America. These people need to have an awakening and not capitulate to the left.
That's exactly right. Well, I think I'll have to track down that number, and I'll shoot you a text with it so you can give them an earful.
I would love to talk to him, only I'm going to put it a step further and have him come on my program. I'm not about to have some three-piece suit, wingtip shoes politician destroy our health care in America.
That's perfect. No, and again, you have to remember, he's newly elected. He ran just last year saying that he was going to stop these socialist policies, and he gets elected, and the first thing he does, one of the first things he does, is introduce price control legislation.
Oh my goodness!
Which goes against everything he ran on.
Colby, you're welcome to come back anytime if you want to talk to an old redneck from Idaho. I'd like to have you back. Director of Grassroots for Freedom Works, Colby Bledsoe. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
God bless. Thank you very much. I tell you what, folks, think about it. The government taking over health care, one size fits all. Oh, your uncle needs a new hip. Oh, your aunt, she has a new knee or needs a new knee so she can walk and keep up her activities and everything. Oh, no, you're too old. No, we're not going to spend the money on you. Just go sit in the corner, vegetate, and die. That's what it's coming to, where nope, you're not going to get it. Oh, you might, you're younger. Attitude of the government, basically distributing and giving out the word as to yes or no, who's going to receive anything as far as health care. And that's what's going to happen. It's happening in Canada. It's happening in other places. We don't want that to happen here. And somebody like Rick Scott from Florida, that basically is a turncoat on this issue and now thinking about introducing bills with a socialistic value of health care, one size fits all, that's disgusting, and he should be thrown out of office. Let's take a look at the weather forecast. Well, I can tell you what the weather is in one simple word: yuck. It's not very nice out there. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company are the sponsors of our weather, and they provide accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. They're the pros. They are the people that know. They are the people that can help you in your business. They're the people that have the best of tax return preparation, tax planning services, financial statement preparation, retirement planning, all of this and more for you, your family, and your business. Please don't hesitate. Get a hold of them today and let them help you. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. Right now, here's the weather.
It's going to be another soggy day, so wear your rain slicker and your galoshes. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Yes, showers all day today. We are expecting possible thunderstorms by this afternoon as well. High at 53, winds out of the west at about 10 miles an hour. Tonight, more scattered showers and thunderstorms, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 40. Tomorrow, more rain showers are going to be in the forecast, cloudy skies. Winds are going to be picking up out of the west to about 13 miles an hour, and we could have gusts at about 21 miles an hour. High at 55 by Thursday. More rain showers, thunderstorms in the forecast, expecting a high of 58, and by Friday, unfortunately, more rain and a high of 60. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zep at the Rain.
Oh, please, a little break, please. Of course, our weather brought to you this hour by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And whatever business you're in or whatever field, whether it's manufacturing, food production, agriculture, whatever, they can help you. Please get a hold of them today with offices in Burley and Rupert, the professionals. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Calls are welcome and appreciated at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Please give me a call. I don't like government telling me anything. I don't like government or anybody or any group saying, well, you can't do this, you can't do that, don't you dare go over there and keep your feet off of this, et cetera, et cetera. And when you look at the Democrats and their higher taxes, much higher taxes that they want to have, which would stymie any and all growth in this country, it leads me to ask a very simple question. Why in the world would anybody with an IQ above a nightcrawler want to vote for a Democrat? Caller, answer that question.
Well, Zeb, they do because they don't know any better. Maybe in their heart of hearts, they're trying to figure out a way to be lazy. It scares me to death, the work ethic of our young people. And maybe the younger ones are realizing that the generation above them is destroying the country, and whether or not it's distraction or whatever it is, they don't know what it is to work. And I'm talking about work, because there's tons of it, and it all needs to be done, or it will affect the very fabric of our society, our economy.
Well, hold it a second. You make a really good point right there. It used to be that there weren't enough jobs, and now all of a sudden there's so many more jobs than we have people, but yet I still maintain, with all the population increasing in the state of Idaho, and people by the thousands are coming here to this gem state, do you mean to tell me that each and every one of those people that's coming here already has solidified a job? They don't need a job. They don't need employment. They don't need to look for a job. Baloney. I think that we have a large percentage of people coming here that are living on the dole, living on welfare, etc. My goodness, Randy, with all these jobs, there is all kinds of opportunity out there.
Oh, there is, but you see, it's not like what you'd like to think it is. I think that they literally are just so careless, cavalier about the fact that, no matter what the deal is, there'll always be food, rent assistance.
Yeah.
They'll always have a phone.
Yeah.
What a joke.
Well, and the thing is, I know some employers, and I know you do too, and Wheels, again, watch that feedback over there, that they've got really good jobs available. They've got really good benefits available, and they can't find people to work, like you said earlier, with a work ethic, or they can't pass a drug test.
Oh, absolutely not. And it's scary because, again, this is the reason why the Republicans drag their feet about immigration, because in some respects, they're afraid. Larry Craig told me once when he was senator, and I was standing right next to him, and I says, these people around here are fired up about you not getting a handle on this immigration problem, the border. And he says, well, the truth be known, he says, we've got to have the illegals to keep the economy propped up. He says in the 80s, Japan wouldn't allow illegals in to come in and prop up their economy, but they're not reproducing in Japan to sustain their own race. And he says their economy is tanked, and Japan has never really recovered since. And so here we have a Republican senator from Idaho, grew up here, and he said to me right in my face that illegal immigration was a necessity in order to keep the economy going. Well, okay then. I guess we're going to have to do it right. But that was, how long has we been dragging our feet on this mess? The Republicans and the Democrats. I mean, there is no reality. There's no logical sense to it. They just keep playing games with it.
You can't import, and I mean this, you can't import a demographic number of people into your country to be the work source and be fruitful and multiply without the total denigration of your Constitution and your culture. And that's what's happening in this country.
Borders, language, and culture.
There you go.
When they don't understand what it is to be an American, when they don't care about the 4th of July, when they don't know what to stand up, okay, I want you to stand up here and pledge your allegiance to the flag. Do you know how to do it? Do you know it? No, I don't care. I don't know it. Well, okay, see, that's a real issue to me. I was born the Lord's Prayer. I could still state the Lord's Prayer because my mother taught me how to say it. And I learned it, and it's in my heart. These people don't care.
I agree. I hate to break off our conversation again because it's a good conversation, but I got to pay some bills, which keeps me on the air, which keeps the Democrats mad at me. Anyway, buddy, have a good day. Appreciate it. God bless. Thank you. I'll tell you what, he's right. He's right. You know, we've got to take charge. I mean, we've got so much to lose. The greatest country in the world. The greatest constitution. The greatest value system. And we're letting it slide down the toilet sewer for socialism and government control and United Nations control? What is the matter with us? People like Little Pete Buttigieg, Kamala Harris, Bug-Eyed Cory Booker, Wild-Haired Bernie, and the rest of them, they have no business even looking at a TV camera saying what they can do for America. The only thing they can do for America is destroy it. Don't forget our dear friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Absolutely the best of life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and more, and great service to you. They are dedicated and responsive to your needs. Don't forget to get a hold of them today. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Number to call, 436-4424. Caller, I've got exactly 30 seconds, and I'm going to have to cut you off. Go.
Jeff, this is your friend from Kimberly. I just wanted to pass out to those listeners who may have formerly been of the Democratic Party. A good friend of mine one time said that he was a good Democrat, and he said, you know what happened is the Democratic Party left me. I did not leave the Democratic Party. And I think we need to call it what it is now. It's a socialist communist party. And another day I'll call you back and we'll visit about some other items.
I hope you do, and I will look forward to it. Thank you. Stay dry, my friend. Thank you very much. Right now we're going to go to the news, followed then by Dr. History at 10:06. Zeb at the Ranch on a Tuesday. God bless. Have a good day. We'll be right back. Oh, good morning. Hour number 3. No, it's hour number 2. No, it's hour number 3. It's been a long day. Anyway, Zeb at the Ranch, and we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations with the best of safe driving tires for you for this Memorial Day. And along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. I want to remind you again that Ramsey Heating and Electric Analytics with their home comfort systems all teamed up, and they're offering up to $1,700 in rebates on a new home comfort system. Better find out more. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459, and terms and conditions apply. See the dealer for details. Ramsey Heating and Electric. Really good folks. By the way, on Thursdays we have a segment called Cassia County School Days, and boy, that segment has been so popular over the years, and it's brought to you by A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley, a family store with all the wee ones' clothing and the furniture and the games, puzzles, and toys, and then for us bigger folks, Cherokee uniforms and scrubs, all of this and so much more at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley, and on Thursdays at 10:10, bringing you School Days in Cassia County. And right now, with his entourage sitting out in the living room waiting to roll out the red carpet for him not to get his feet wet going to the pickup, here's Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb.
How are you?
Good. It's another wet day out there, but hey, what can you do?
Did you float in on the SS Turner?
It was raining hard.
Oh, it's something.
Yeah,
it's something.
Yeah, it's puddling up pretty good.
Yeah.
So, today I'm going to talk about hospitals and healthcare a little bit.
Last half hour, you're kind of fitting right into the mold here.
Yeah. So, You've been to Yellowstone Park.
Many times.
Okay. So even today, Yellowstone Park still you kind of get the feel of the Old West a little bit, still in Yellowstone.
Yeah.
A little bit, the log cabins, one thing, another. But, thousands of tourists go every year to experience the wild. Inevitably, some of them encounter illness or injury during their stay. The park has provided medical services for visitors and area residents since the late 19th century.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I didn't either as I started reading this. And when I was a kid, we'd go in there. We always saw bears. Because that was just a few years ago when I was a kid. And you.
Of course, you live in a time machine. I guess that's all right.
So, but it's still a great place to go visit.
Oh,
it really
yeah.
is. So, anyway, an Army hospital was built near Mammoth Hot Springs in 1886, primarily to serve the enlisted personnel of a place called Camp Sheridan. A new hospital was built in 1894 at Fort Yellowstone, and I didn't know there was a Fort Yellowstone.
Now you got me on that one.
Yeah, which was then replaced by an improved facility near today's Mammoth Chapel.
Where was Fort Yellowstone?
I'm not exactly sure, but it's got to be on that north side somewhere, the north end, because that's where Mammoth Hot Springs is.
No. Okay, dumb question. The Yellowstone River itself, now that runs through the northern part, doesn't it?
Yes, yeah.
So
so it's got to be up there pretty in the northern part.
Okay.
I should have checked on that, but there was a new Yellowstone Park Hospital, and also known as the Mammoth Hospital, and it actually served park visitors and even the local people that lived around there clear into the 1960s. And the new facility included an X-ray machine, laboratory, a large operating room on the second floor, but the hospital had no elevator, so patients were carried on a litter up the long stairway to the operating room. And in 1924, doctors from Livingston, Montana, who had been working at the Park Hospital, took over its management from the Army.
Why didn't they put the operating room on the first floor?
That's a question to be... and I guess, if I'm on that litter, I hope there's a short guy in the front and a tall guy in the back. Don't throw me off. So anyway, these doctors practiced in the park, and they were kept busy treating a large variety of conditions, especially during the summer. And not only did they say the usual problems, but there were some injuries unique to the wilderness.
Really?
Visitors traveling through the park were, and you've heard this, gored by buffalo.
Yeah, they're dumb.
Stomped by moose, mauled by bears.
I shouldn't laugh.
Yeah. They were injured in rock climbing falls. They were burnt in hot springs.
That still happens a lot.
It does. There's still people that do that.
Yeah.
They were injured in rock climbing falls. They were burnt, again, in the boiling hot springs, hit with rocks.
Wait a minute, hit with rocks?
Yeah. As you're hiking, sometimes, rocks will break loose. I know a man that was hit right square in the head.
Really?
By a falling rock.
Holy cow. He didn't look at the sign that said falling rock?
No, he didn't. But, injuries from bear attacks required a special handling. The mostly black bears that wandered through the park had a lot of contact with people that were not prepared to, there's no pepper spray.
No.
But in addition to potential infection from a bear bite, the animal's powerful jaws could, crush your body and
boy, you're making the trip to the park sound like a lot of fun.
It was a bad if you lived, But there was a guy by the name of Dr. Alfred M. Luke, and he was a longtime surgeon in Livingston, Montana, and he treated a lot of these potentially fatal injuries. Now, he discovered that the wound from a bear bite had to be opened up completely and all the damaged tissue cleaned out.
Oh, because of the
infections
of all the things they ate.
Right.
Yeah.
But this procedure was necessary to prevent, serious infection in tissue that could actually act as a cultural media for bacteria.
Oh.
Especially, there was one they called gas gangrene.
Gas gangrene?
Yeah, and that was a particularly severe type of gangrene from the infection, I guess.
Oh, my goodness.
But in the early 1960s, this Dr. Luke reported on a large number of cases that he successfully managed. The only one that became infected was a patient who, refusing treatment at the old-fashioned Park Hospital, left to go to the Mayo Clinic. Well, the delay was fatal. He didn't make it.
So he made a mistake.
He did. He didn't make it. Now, this is a new one on me, Zeb. Another common condition that the physicians treated was something called acute pulmonary edema from the high altitude. Now, to me,
lack of oxygen.
Yeah, the heart and lungs couldn't handle the stress of not enough oxygen above 8,000 or 9,000 feet, and usually this developed in older visitors that may have a heart or a lung problem.
Really?
Now, the only other time I've heard about this high altitude pulmonary or even cerebral edema is people that climb Mount Everest.
Really?
Those are you'll notice they all carry
I haven't climbed Mount Everest.
Nor will we. We won't. So those people that did get this in the park, the treatment was simple. They were told to get in their car and drive to a lower altitude.
Well, now, there shows you how advanced medical science is.
It's gotten a long ways. But,
down off the hill.
Yeah. Anyway, in the early days, only a few healthcare professionals stayed in the park during the off season, and they were
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so left to face any problems on their own. There was a nurse practitioner by the name of Donna Mae Snodgrass and her husband, and they worked for the Yellowstone National Park in the 1960s. And she was a lot of times the only source of medical care for the area residents, because there were still people that lived there in areas.
Now, I'm going to ask you a dumb question. Are there still people that live year-round in the park?
I'm going to just say that it's probably mostly just park employees. Yeah, personnel. Okay. I don't know that there's any private places anymore in there. But this Donna, she actually had to ride sometimes horseback or walk to assist somebody in the deep snow. They stayed there all winter.
Oh, my.
But in 1980, West Park Hospital in Cody, Wyoming, took over this hospital. So there's still a hospital, I guess maybe kind of like an outpatient.
Well, what did they do? Do they have an ambulance service there?
I'm sure they do. I just don't know that for sure.
They're not going to put them on a litter and carry them that far.
No, I'm sure things have improved a lot.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to talk about something that is probably not even thought about much in the Old West.
Okay.
Okay? Mental illness. All right?
Yes. That's all, folks.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of the history of mental illness and its treatment is not pleasant to think about. Ancient Greece was among the few societies that saw mental illness as a disease and not something caused by devils or demons, things like that. But it was several hundred years before this view was accepted by most cultures. They all thought that, somebody that was mentally ill, they were taken over by the devil or something. But in the meantime, these unfortunate people were considered witches. They were ostracized. They were beaten. They were shackled. They were imprisoned. They were tortured and even put to death.
Oh, my.
And even in the more enlightened eras of the 18th and 19th centuries, some hospitals did admit them, but a lot of the mentally ill people were still locked in jails. They were isolated at home or in what they call almshouses, or they were left to wander without any supervision. The problem was largely a question of public perception and a lack of understanding on the part of the medical profession. Even the doctors really didn't know what this was or how to treat it. Until modern times, doctors wanted little to do with the problem of the mentally ill, and so usually it was left to somebody else.
They were scared of them.
They were. Now, there was a gal by the name of Dorothea Dix. Now, she was born in 1802 to 1887.
Right.
She was one who met the challenge head on. This stout-hearted lady had witnessed mentally ill men and women incarcerated with criminals, sometimes left naked without heat, light, or bathrooms, sometimes beaten. I know this is hard to think about, Zeb, but this is something that happened.
They really were exacerbating the problem.
They were. But anyway, she dedicated herself to stopping this treatment. In 40 years of effort, she helped establish 32 state hospitals.
Wow.
And actually even convinced the Pope, who was Pope Pius IX, to speak out about the mentally ill.
Wow.
So here we are.
And that was in the what?
Late 1800s. So by 1880, mental institutions, both government and private, were improved a lot, and hospitalization of the mentally ill started getting support. Yeah, because you can imagine, Zeb, if you have somebody in your family, a child or a brother or sister that's mentally ill, what do you do with them?
Yeah,
and
really.
So they want them taken care of, obviously. Now, at first, therapies at the state mental institutions emphasized kindness and restraint. They tried to take care of them. But those principles kind of broke down due to their low cost. The state-supported institutions pretty soon they were overwhelmed with patients whose families they've got to the point where the family could not take care of the person.
I'm going to interrupt you here and ask you a question because you know everything. When did the studies of mental illness really become prominent at major universities?
I'm going to say it didn't start until the early 1900s.
Wow, that's not that far ago, long ago.
So it's something that is well studied now.
Wow.
We understand a lot more about it. But, some of these places, these facilities were built for a few hundred, but they ended up having several thousand in some of these facilities.
Mm-mm.
And so, obviously, if you're taking care of people that should be like 200 or 300, and now you got 1,000, the staff is not going to be able to take care of people like that. Anyway, Nevada's territorial legislature showed some pretty good progress in 1867. Now, that's a long time ago. It allocated $10,000 for care of the insane. But by 1871, that amount was found not to be enough. It was less expensive to send Nevada's mentally ill to the California State Hospital in Stockton, California. And that was a cost of only $9 per patient per week. Of course, that was, like I say, 1871. But the solution was okay until Nevada built its own mental hospital near Reno in 1881. So, even towards the late 1800s, I'm going to say they were starting to understand a little more about the severity and types of mental illness.
How did they, at that time, accept or take in someone that they deemed was mentally ill?
I don't know what the criteria would be. I'm going to assume that maybe a country doctor or somebody said, hey, I've got this person, this is what's going on. Does he fit the program to go into a mental hospital?
I see.
Or the family, I'm sure, probably took this person to a doctor of some kind. So there had to be a process for deciding who they thought could come into these hospitals. But in its third year, at the Nevada Hospital for the Indigent Insane, had 140 patients, and the conditions diagnosed were recorded as, here's the things that they took in, why they had mental illness: heredity, typhoid, religion, scarlet fever.
Whoa. Religion?
Yeah. You think about back in the old days, some of the traveling preachers, some of these, some people became, I guess, overwhelmed somehow. And I'm not quite sure how to explain that.
Okay.
But that's what they'd say here. That and then scarlet fever, epilepsy, fright, jealousy, alcoholism, a weak mind, disappointment, loss of memory, and solitary life. Those are things that they looked at and decided, okay, you qualify because you fit in this particular category.
Now, did they have anything to say about it?
That's a good question. And I don't know.
I mean, if somebody looked at you or I under that list of criteria, we may be in a heap of trouble.
It could happen, So, there was a considerable degree of difference between the terminology of the past and that of the present.
Yeah.
I mean, terminology back then, we really don't use that now.
Yeah.
But some we do. We do know that one of the leading causes, unfortunately, was advanced syphilis. And it was among the leading cause of insanity in those days.
Wow.
And many patients were severely depressed. Many people with conditions no longer considered psychiatric illness, like epilepsy and Alzheimer's, were placed in mental hospitals back then. So now we know that epilepsy and Alzheimer's is something that can sort of be treated. Well, epilepsy for sure. Alzheimer's can be treated, but not necessarily cured. We know that by now.
Yeah.
But back then, they were placed in a mental hospital. Now, the developmentally disabled were commonly committed to insane asylums under vague diagnoses like, here's a couple of them. They would say imbecility or idiocy. Idiocy.
Yes.
Constitutional inferiority. Now, those are terms that...
Constitutional
inferiority. Yeah. So,
you're saying phrases there that, boy, I'd sure like to see the meaning.
Yeah. And again, back then, a diagnosis was different than today.
I go to the people that were accused of this. I mean, what right or who stood up for them or who spoke for them if they couldn't speak for themselves?
Well, and unfortunately, I think there are some families that figured, well, this person is beyond help, and we can't deal with him or her, and we're going to put him in this hospital and maybe never see him again.
Oh, my goodness.
We don't know.
Yeah.
But until near the turn of the century, 20th century, mental hospitals followed the peculiar custom, and this is kind of sad, Zeb, they followed a peculiar custom of exhibiting patients to the public.
Oh, like a carnival?
This form of entertainment began in 1770 at St. Mary of Bethlehem Hospital in London, where visitors paid a fee to laugh at, quote, I'm going to say this, quote, laugh at the lunatics.
Oh.
Gradually, as understanding grew, this practice was stopped. In 1895, the Nevada Hospital for the Indigent Insane changed its name to the Nevada Hospital for Mental Diseases, and the superintendent prohibited placing the inmates on exhibition for the amusement and to gratify the morbid curiosity.
It kind of makes you wonder who the real crazy people were.
Right. I did hear a call come in.
Yeah, do we have a call? Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Quickly, please. We only got 3 minutes left.
I guess we lost him.
I guess not.
Well, so let's go back. The mental hospital at Warm Springs in Deer Lodge, Montana territory involved into a well-known spa. The alleged healing powers of natural hot springs, mineral hot springs, made them popular treatment for alcoholism and other addictions. And by the late 1800s, spas were recommended as a therapy. And even today, you know, a spa can be very beneficial for many kinds of mental illness even. For instance, the hot springs baths were considered effective in calming some psychotic patients. In 1877, 2 Deer Lodge doctors purchased the Warm Springs Hotel to use as an asylum. So these doctors took on a very tough condition. But Montana was actually kind of ahead of itself in mental illness. By all reports, the new Warm Springs institution met the governor's mandate that, quote, treatment be of the same character that patients now receive in the best regulated asylums in the state. They were clothed, they were fed, they were treated well, they seemed to be happy and contented in this particular facility.
You know what stands out for me in everything you've said this morning since we started is that we really have not progressed over a period of time to be that advanced. You know what I mean? The 1800s and the early 19th century, that wasn't that long ago.
No, it wasn't. And again, it has improved tremendously.
Yeah.
But in this particular spa, it was said that, quote, the diet, medical and surgical treatment, and attention and all of the matters pertaining to the welfare of the patients are beyond criticism. They were a home-like, kind atmosphere. Then in 1912, the state of Montana bought the Warm Springs facility. They renamed it the Montana State Hospital for the Insane, and now it's called the Montana State Hospital, and they take care of a lot of residents. It's just it's turned into a much better treatment. Now I'm going to just throw something out here, Zeb. Over the years, as a chiropractor, I treated a lot of patients for musculoskeletal problems. All right, other conditions I would refer to their family doctor, a surgeon, whatever they needed. And I'm just going to say here, this was not in my field, but I had a few patients come in that were suffering from depression. My advice to those patients was, if you had cancer, diabetes, heart disease, you would seek medical attention. You have depression, you have clinical depression, according to what I'm seeing. You need to get the help and the treatment that you need, whether it's counseling, whether it's medication, whatever you need. And let me just finish before this listener says something. I met a man by the name of Dr. Bushnell. This man is an expert in the field of ECT, which is actually electroshock therapy.
Right.
And he says that this treatment has been around 85% effective for people with severe depression.
Wow.
So some of my listeners out there, if you are struggling with this, check with your psychiatrist. Ask about ECT.
Yeah, and don't just try to go it alone.
No.
Quickly, caller, I'm going to give you 30 seconds, and that's it. I'm almost out of time. Go quickly.
Okay, I just wanted to share with you on Fort Yellowstone, backtracking on you, was established in 1891 at Mammoth Hot Springs.
Ah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you knew that. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. You know, what I was trying to get to a few...
Some of the
personality sound like some of what our politicians have.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. But it is surprising, that you're talking about through the European times all the way to our settlers coming to America, 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, and in recent times, this still is a study and a field that we don't know.
We know a lot, but there's a lot we don't know. And every single person is unique and different.
Yeah.
So what helps one patient may not help the next.
Absolutely.
Or the next.
But depression is something that all of us can have at one time or another.
Right.
And it's not something to just slough off.
No. And again, I would encourage anybody out there that's struggling. The hard part, too, is the spouse not knowing, what do I do? This person has a nice home. They what have they got to be depressed about? And it's not something you choose to do.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Dr. History, you hit it out of the park. Great information. Thank you very much. Holy cow, I've got to tell everybody quickly before we send it over to our studio, don't forget Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley. Why should you know about Patterson's? Because they are your electronic headquarters. Oh my goodness, they've got all the home theater systems and the video surveillance cameras, and they've got the HughesNet internet. They've got the TV, Samsung, Sony, Toshiba. They've got complete sound systems. They've got car stereos and speakers. What are you waiting for? Load up and head for Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley. Number to call, 678-6997. Curtis and Lorena waiting to serve you Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. Don't forget Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley. Want to say a big thank you to Dr. History again for an outstanding program today, and we're going to send it back over to our main studio and be back with my dear friend, Dr. Gerard Lamero, in just a few minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh my, I forgot to turn the microphone on. Just one of the small things that I have to do on this program. Don't forget, of course, our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox with their home comfort systems. Don't forget to call and check and find out more. They're offering up to $1,700 in rebates on new home comfort systems. Yep. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Call Ramsey's at 678-0459. Terms and conditions apply. See the dealer for details. Ramsey Heating and Electric. This next gentleman is and has been a very, very good friend of this program. He's an excellent author with Great News for America, More Great News for America, and political analyst that I pay attention to what he says. He knows what he's talking about, and he's a dear friend. Good morning, Dr. Gerard Lamero. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm on your show, and that's terrific. I'm happy about it.
Well, God bless you, sir, and it's a treat to have you on the program. There's so many things I want to start with this morning. Politically, last night we saw President Trump in Pennsylvania with thousands and thousands of supporters listening to him, and let's face it, it was kind of a preliminary for the race for the presidency in 2020. What were your thoughts about what he said last night in Pennsylvania?
Well, I think he knows how to address the audience because he knows how the American people feel and the American voters feel. I think he is, obviously it's a campaign, but these days campaigns are ongoing. The Democrats are always campaigning. They're always criticizing him, always attacking him. I mean, let's face it, they want socialism, and Trump and American voters don't. And so it's an ongoing campaign. It's a battle. But the American people, and as I mentioned in More Great News for America, the good guys will win in the end, and the good guys are the people who love America.
Dr. Lomero, you and I have visited many, many times on this program, and Wheels, again, you're going to have to ride the gain on that feedback over there, please, about socialism as a creeping kind of a disease, I'll call it, in America. I never thought it would approach the levels that it has this quickly, and a new poll came out that showed 4 in 10 Americans would support socialism. That must scare you like it does me.
No, it doesn't, believe it or not. And let me tell you why. Because if you dig down in the Gallup poll that you're referring to, which I did, I dug down deep into it to figure out what it meant. What Americans are saying and what has happened is the term socialism has changed in terms of what American people are interpreting it as in general. They're not talking about Venezuela. Most Americans don't support that. 4 in 10 don't support that. But what they believe socialism means, and this is not true, but what they think it means and what people are pushing it as is, sort of a kinder, gentler nation. Your welfare checks are a little higher. You help the poor a little bit more. And they think that's what the Democrats are talking about, but they're not. The Democrats, their idea of socialism is totally different than the idea of a kinder, gentler nation where we, help a few of the poor people a little bit more. But that's what people think of socialism. They think it's just helping your neighbor.
Yeah, but when it comes to helping your neighbor with higher taxes and the cutbacks on various items, be it Medicare or whatever, and turning it into a tin cup society to where people are expecting the gimme, gimme, gimme attitude from the government, that scares me to death.
Yeah, I understand. And truly, that's what socialism is, and truly, that's what the Democrats want. They want the single-payer health care where basically you shut down all the private insurance companies and you force people to take whatever government care they have available. And what that means is shortages. You're not going to be able to get a heart surgery when you need it. You're not going to get the kind of care you want. They'll say you got health insurance, but in reality, you just got whatever leftovers the government is rationing that day. And so people need to understand the difference between helping your neighbor a little bit more, and what these people are truly pushing. High taxes, maybe as high as 70% or more. They're pushing crazy ideas like eliminate all cars, eliminate all airplanes, eliminate all cows. Nobody should eat hamburger, don't have children. I mean, their ideas are extreme, radical, leftist ideas. That's what the socialism that they're pushing. They're pushing stuff like Venezuela.
Okay, but Dr. Lomero, we sit here and we kind of scoff at it. And we kind of say, well, it'll never happen. But I'm not so convinced that the mindset of the American public, especially the younger minds that are being molded and shaped in the school system with educators that are left-wing liberals, I'm not so sure we're not in as much trouble as I think we are. I think maybe it's even worse than what I think.
Yeah, well, let me give you one other word of optimism, and I totally understand what you believe, Zeb. I really understand it and that. But one other bit of optimism is the fact that this particular poll, for example, Gallup, did not, if you will, poll the likely voters who are going to vote in an election for president. They picked just random people around the country, most of whom aren't going to vote. So this may be in the hearts and minds of people who don't follow the news, who don't know the difference between true socialism and helping your neighbor, and that, but they're also not voting.
What about our Congress? What about the senators and the congressmen? I am so frustrated because you can look them in the eye at a Lincoln Day banquet or whatever, and you can ask them questions, and they'll tell you what you want to hear. But then they go back to Washington, and they're completely removed from trying to settle it in favor of their constituents. What in the dickens can we do with our congressmen and senators?
Well, you know what, Zeb? The American people are smart. They have common sense just like you do. You have a tremendous common sense. I've known that over the years. And the answer is what they have been doing. Every election cycle since 2010, they've been getting rid of those people who say, hey, I'm a conservative. And then they go back to Washington and they vote like they're socialists. Last election, 2018, 49 Republicans who did just that. They basically said, oh, I'm a conservative. I'm going to Washington. I'm going to be your conservative voice in Washington. They go back there and they didn't vote conservative. Guess what? Those 49 people are no longer in office. The American voter got rid of them. Every cycle, they're getting rid of more and more of those do-nothing folks who say one thing and do another.
One of the biggest issues, Dr. Lamero, that I know you're concerned about, we've talked about it in the past, and I'm extremely concerned about it, is our border situation or lack of border situation and toughness and regulatory means on the border. Our people down there, our Border Patrol agents and others that work for the government, they're overwrought, overstressed, many of which are thinking about quitting. My goodness, this situation has turned into real turmoil. How are we going to get this settled?
The only way to settle the border is for the president to do as much as he can now and to just plain change the Congress next time. We have a House that's a bunch of strange folks, people who are anti-Israel, anti-Semitic, anti-border control, anti all sorts of stuff that makes sense. We've got to change the people who are in Congress. The Senate has at least got Republicans voting for the right judges, but we need more conservatives in the Senate as well. That's going to happen as well in 2020 because several people aren't going to run and several new people are going to come in who are more conservative because, again, that's what the American people want. They want people who have common sense that are conservative and that follow the Constitution.
You know, another part of that issue and that problem is the insurrection from within. When you look at the sanctuary cities atmosphere in California, and now it's growing into other areas where SeaTac, Seattle Airport, told the ICE agents they couldn't use their airport to fly and deport illegal aliens. They're going to stop them. What kind of insanity is this?
That's what it is. It's really ridiculous. And I think the conservatives in the federal government, that'd be Donald Trump enforcing the law, needs to come down on these sanctuary cities. We have liberal judges. There's a few liberal judges left, especially in the Ninth Circuit, that are basically coming down with decisions that are hurting America. I mean, when you do this, when you allow 4,000 deaths in America from illegal immigrant crimes, that's terrible. Those are Americans that are dying from drug cartels and other folks. We cannot allow sanctuary cities. And I know some of the courts are holding back the president, but as he continues to appoint constitutional conservatives who believe in the rule of law, it's going to get better and better. The Ninth Circuit has 29 judges. Right now, Trump has appointed 12, and he's got to appoint quite a few more to get rid of some of those other people.
I want to shift gears a little bit, and I want to go to the Democratic herd, if you will, of 23, 24, 97, whatever the people are, numbers-wise, that have thrown their hats in the ring. Of all the people that have thrown their names out for public scrutiny to possibly become a Democratic nominee, many of which you haven't heard of before, who really come to the top in your mind, and who really has a chance?
Well, I think it's going to be a socialist. I do not believe Biden's going to get the nomination because I don't think he's radical enough. And I also think that the young people think he's part of the old school, you know, part of the Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton school of running the Democratic Party. I think probably it's going to turn out to be a Bernie Sanders or this Pete Buttigieg from the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, who seems to be a little bit more popular in Hollywood, which will help him raise money. He's popular among the radicals, the leftists, and he's socialist enough, and he kind of basically doesn't come out and talk about it as much as some of them, and so he's, I think, maybe hiding what he really believes. But that may be the way they get elected. They can't tell people what they believe.
What do you think, and I've wanted to ask you this for quite some time, what do you think about Attorney General Bill Barr and now some of the under-the-table news that is starting to surface as far as the investigators being investigated now by Attorney General Bill Barr as to how this thing started in against the Trump campaign? We're starting to hear rumblings about what happened with Loretta Lynch and James Comey and other circumstances. I'm getting a feeling, and tell me if I'm wrong, that the people on the left are starting to get a little nervous in buying more deodorant these days.
I think they probably are doing just that. They're getting more and more nervous. Why? Because Jeff Sessions let them have a free pass, get out of jail card, so to speak, like in Monopoly. And he basically had hands off, and so the old school, the old folks were still running the show. But now Bill Barr, he's come out and said, I'm protecting the presidency. This president wasn't treated fairly, and I'm investigating what went wrong. And he didn't say, I'm convicting people. He's saying he's just going to investigate it. But he really has a reason for investigating. He has a lot of evidence that indicates there were shenanigans going on which may have violated the law. He's going after them, and boy, I think they're getting nervous quick. They're probably checking on what countries don't have extradition treaties with the U.S.
You know, there are those in our society, I'm sure there's neighbors in your neighborhood, mine included, that say, oh, come on, we've had enough investigations, just let it go. Just let it go under the rug and forget about it. Boy, I cannot see how you can break the law, how you can contaminate a man's run for the presidency and denigrate his family and all of the people that were a part of his administration without going in and finding all the illegalities. Why in the world would you just want to sweep that under the rug?
Well, because you don't want them caught. They're on your side if you're a Democrat or a leftist, but that's not the way it's going to be. Bill Barr, I think he's a straight arrow, and I think he believes in the rule of law, and that's the key thing, the rule of law. And I think he thinks there's only one system of justice in the United States, and they weren't following it. There were people who had good jobs in the FBI, Department of Justice, who were putting their thumb on the scale. They were trying to help Hillary to get elected. They were trying to help Trump not to get elected. And then once he got elected, they're trying to get in his way and undo the election by impeaching him or doing something else bad. But you know what? That's all coming out. It's coming out day after day. We see more transcripts coming out. And people like you mentioned earlier, Loretta Lynch, she's starting to criticize Comey, and Comey's criticizing Rosenstein. Or they're all pointing the fingers at somebody else. Why? Because they know the investigation is happening. It's actually happening behind the scenes. They're probably worried they're going to get indicted.
Let me ask you this real quick. I want to get into another subject, but you keep hearing the Maxine Waters and yelling, impeach, impeach 45 and all this, and then the Cory Bookers and Kamala Harris's and everybody else. And then, we're in a constitutional crisis. Would you please, in a very subtle fashion, tell me on what grounds could they possibly impeach him on, and what in the world do they consider a constitutional crisis?
Constitutional crisis is they lost an election fairly and squarely, and they've been lying ever since that there is some sort of Russian collusion of which there is no evidence. And in fact, the latest stuff that's coming out seems to say that the FBI actually has evidence that would have exonerated President Trump, and they should have never held the Mueller investigation. That was what Trump said. A witch hunt. What Trump said has been right. When he said, I was spied on, people laughed at him. Well, he was spied on. His campaign was spied on. Now the evidence is all coming out. For 2 years, thanks largely to Jeff Sessions not overseeing things, the FBI and the DOJ hid stuff. They hid the information. But now Barr is saying, let's look at the real facts here. One person after another is releasing information. The truth is coming out. the Democrats have no reason to impeach the president other than they don't like his tie and they don't like the fact he won the election.
Real quick, Dr. Romero, you mentioned Jeff Sessions on numerous occasions. Give me a short 30-second answer to this. To what gain and why did Jeff Sessions act the way he did?
I think they had him over the barrel because he had talked to a Russian ambassador in a casual lunch or cocktail party, and he thought he had to recuse himself because he was part of the campaign originally.
Now, the most important issue, you are a dear friend of this program. My wife and I think the world of you, and I know that you're going through some health issues. Please tell my listeners, how's Dr. Romero doing?
Well, I have stage 4 cancer, particular cancer that up until a year ago was fatal for sure. And there are new drugs out, and those new drugs were approved by the FDA, and I'm on them. And I'm hoping I survive. And not everybody who takes the drugs survives because the drugs themselves have a lot of side effects. Unfortunately, I have good days where I'm able to be totally normal. I have other days where I'm getting the side effects, and they're a pain in the rear.
I just want you to know, and I've said this to you also privately, that our prayers are with you, my dear friend, and I know now that the audience has heard this, their prayers are with you. Dr. Gerard Romero, you are not alone. We're there pulling for you in the corner.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the prayers very much. I think they make a world of difference, and I'm hoping I'm going to pull through and be calling this next election.
Well, I'm looking forward to having many more conversations with you, my dear friend, Dr. Gerard Romero. God bless you, and all is well. We'll keep praying. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you.
God bless you. There's quite a man, and I'm honored to have him on my program, political analyst Dr. Gerard Romero. And again, when you bow your head tonight, get on your knees, say a prayer for his health. He's a good, good man. Right now we're going to have the weather forecast, and the weather brought to you by Scarro's Meats. Oh my goodness, great, great meat. You really should acquaint yourself with Scarro's Meats right now, because maybe graduation right around the corner, Memorial Day this weekend, you got about 97 people coming by. Maybe they'd love to have marinated pork ribs or the tri-tips. Oh my, yes. They've got all the delicious meats right there at Scarro's Meats. Call, find out more. The number, 324-7657. ScarrowsMeats.com, the website, and I'll tell you more about the delicious meats at Scarrow's Meats right after the weather.
It's going to be another soggy day, so wear your rain slicker and your galoshes. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Yes, showers all day today. We are expecting possible thunderstorms by this afternoon as well. High of 53, winds out of the west at about 10 miles an hour. Tonight, more scattered showers and thunderstorms, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 40. Tomorrow, more rain showers are going to be in the forecast, cloudy skies. Winds are going to be picking up out of the west to about 13 miles an hour, and we could have gusts at about 21 miles an hour. High of 55 by Thursday. More rain showers, thunderstorms in the forecast, expecting a high of 58, and by Friday, unfortunately, more rain and a high of 60. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zephyr Rain.
Wet, wet, wet. Hey, don't forget our dear friends for all their delicious meats at Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Boy, they are. It's true. They're changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. You get a hold of them today. Scarrow's Meats in Jerome. Call her quickly. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to go over something quickly about Oregon and the liberal leadership in Oregon. The Klamath Basin, they're going to literally breach 4 dams, if I'm not wrong. And just the cost of it is unbelievable, let alone the silt that will flow down into the rivers. And see, they think they're saving the fish. And they're just, it's unbelievable that they're actually going through with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, you can't believe these people are sane. And the price of, hydroelectric is the cheapest that there is. These people are, claim that wind and solar is going to be the answer. And they're psycho. They're psycho off their out of their minds.
I know they are, but there again, our elected officials better get backbone and look them in the eye and say no. People like representatives from Idaho Power and everything better start growing a bigger spine and backbone and saying no. The bulk of the people need to be served instead of a minority that absolutely want to disrupt the sanity in this country.
Well, it's just like up in the Willamette Valley. They are literally running so much water down the river to for the fish, like we do here, 250,000 acre feet down the Snake River, down to the Columbia, out to the sea. And we do it to augment the flow for the salmon. Well, over there in the Willamette Valley, they're doing the same thing, and to the point where some farmers may not have water for their farms.
That's right.
They don't have the kind of cooperation that we've done here. They're not recharging the aquifer. They're not building dams and doing the right thing. It's beyond belief.
Randy, I always wished you could call a little earlier so we had more time to discuss, but call me tomorrow morning. We'll further this conversation. I've got to get Les Schwab in, but thank you. God bless you, man. Thanks. Our major sponsor, and we're very proud of them, and that's your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations. Easy to find and great service for you. They've got all the tires, and I'm urging you, don't leave on Memorial Day for a trip without making sure everything is safe. You've got safe tires. You've got great brakes. You've got the front end aligned. You've got everything taken care of, batteries, all of this and so much more at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Many of their tires are on sale. Please stop in for your car, pickup, SUV, horse trailer, boat trailer, whatever. All there. With Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Got to run. Time's up. See you tomorrow morning at 8:06, where we always say on Zeb Bell and Zeb at the Ranch, the way things were are the way things ought to be, and the world needs more cowboys. See you tomorrow morning. God bless.